Welcome back to another episode of the Digital Wrap-Up. My name is Riley and I'm the host and I'm the CEO of Hardened Digital and Design. In today's episode, I'm going to be giving you my recap of VeeCon. I had the opportunity to be involved in Gary V's conference this past week, and it was honestly one of the cooler things I've done in a long time, if not ever. It was just such a unique experience for me on multiple different levels. Pickleball, which if you know me is a big part of my life. I love playing pickleball. I coach it. I play in tournaments, but then also getting to attend the event and learn from some big name people, listen to great speakers, Drew Barrymore, Neil Patrick Harris, Gary V. So just going to recap some of the things that I learned, some of the takeaways from the conference, and all of that in today's episode. But before I get into that, I do want to mention a couple of things. Again, I've talked about these in the previous couple of episodes, but if you listened to last week's episode, our online shop is live, hardeneddigital.shop. We have some Hardened Digital swag, some mouse pads, stickers, pint glasses, coffee mugs, and then also our Love Tipton for all of our local listeners who live in Tipton. So if you want to check that out, again, that's hardeneddigital.shop. And also you can support the show directly, the Digital Wrap-Up directly, by going to bit.ly/digital wrap-up. And it's just another way to give back to the show if you enjoy listening to me sit here and talk about small business and marketing and all these different topics that I cover. If you don't necessarily need swag from the Hardened Digital shop or don't need the services we offer, but you've gotten something out of this podcast, it's a great way to show your support there. Again, that's bit.ly/digital wrap-up. So back to VeeCon. I'm going to kind of go out of order because the days were the field day. So there was a 3-day conference. The first day was a field day. And then the second 2-day was more of the traditional conference with speakers and sessions that you could attend and listen to some high profile people. But so I was involved with the pickleball side of things. I don't want to talk about pickleball first because this isn't a pickleball podcast, but basically I got approached through my affiliation with being on the board for Indy Pickleball Club, and they were looking for some pickleball players, pros, coaches in the area to help out during the event, and in return, we got to have access to the rest of the conference. So I jumped all over that one. I know what VeeCon was. A lot of the other people in the thread didn't know what it was or weren't as excited, but I jumped all over it. Getting free access to Gary V's conference was awesome. You know, it's roughly a $200 conference. You have to buy an NFT to get in and all that. So if you haven't heard of VeeCon, just look it up. It's really game-changing in everything that they're doing. But anyways, we got free access to the rest of the conference. I'll circle back to the pickleball side of things later on. So if you want to hear me talk about what we did with pickleball, just stay tuned. But for those people who listen that are more business-oriented, marketing, all that, going to get into day 2 of the conference, which was on Friday, and talk about some of the speakers I listened to and some of the takeaways that came from those speakers. So started off the day, 10 a.m. Gary V kicks off the conference, or second day of the conference, first full day of actual sessions. And he brought out his dad and his brother and talked about running a business as a family and being in business with family, which Gary V was involved, still is, with his dad's wine business, and now his brother, he's involved with a bunch of other VaynerMedia, Vayner Sports, all these other different ventures with his brother as well. So brought them on stage and talked about, being in business with them and some of the takeaways and things that he's learned through those experiences over the years. And that kind of hit home for me because, as many of you know, Kaylee is my sister, and my girlfriend Hannah is an account manager here. So very family oriented. Kaylee's a part owner. She's a creative director. And then obviously Hannah's doing a lot of the day-to-day stuff with our clients. So interacting with family on a daily basis through the business. So it was good to get Gary's thoughts. And I think the big takeaway there is that you leave business at business or work at work, and then, family life outside of work, making sure you really separate the two, especially when it comes to any debates or arguments or differentiating opinions on different topics or whatever. But make sure there's that separate, work and home balance, I guess, when you're dealing with family. Luckily, knock on wood, Kaylee and I haven't had any issues. Hannah and I haven't had any issues. To my best knowledge, Hannah and Kaylee haven't had any issues. But really, we all work together really well. Kaylee and I used to get on each other's nerves growing up, but I think that's long gone now. But we haven't really had any major disputes or issues since we joined up. It's almost been a year. Wow. In July of last year. So, it's something that what they were talking about on stage is to keep in mind if there is anything that comes up, don't let work get involved or in the middle of our personal and family relationships. And, hopefully that never happens, but it's just a good takeaway there. I think, that was one of the concerns that we had going into it about that, is we didn't want it to cause any issues. And, there are some families that do try and do what we're doing, or they're involved in business with each other, and it can ruin relationships. And we definitely didn't want that at all. So, so far so good. And I don't plan on changing that anytime soon. And I know Kaylee doesn't either. So, going smooth. And on top of the business that we run here, Hard and Digital and Design, Kaylee and I, and I guess Hannah's looped in this year too, also help out our aunt and uncle who own a business, Gooseberry Creek Garden Centers. And Kaylee's heavily involved. She's been a manager for one of their greenhouse locations for the past several years. And I'm the hired muscle. I always joke I just do a lot of setup and tear down and occasional truck days if they need just some people to carry stuff. But just another family business venture that we're involved with, especially Kaylee. And I know there's always differentiating opinions on setup and ordering and design, not necessarily design, but I guess, design. Just the inner workings of everything to get planned for the greenhouse. There's a lot more than just putting up a structure and having plants come. And I know there's differences in opinions a lot of times from hearing from them talk, but I know they don't let it affect their personal relationships, to my knowledge. I've never seen it, and I've never had that issue with my aunt and uncle, or when I've worked at Kaylee's store, or it's a big family business. My cousin's involved. He's another manager of a store. So it's I think something that's pretty common, and Gary even mentioned that too, is that especially like entrepreneurs raising their kids to be entrepreneurs and start their own businesses as well. It's becoming more and more common. So I think across the board have been pretty good about all of that, the family relationships, the business relationships, keeping them separate. Scott and Julie, if you're watching or listening, I can't say whether you guys have let it impact you, but being around you, I think you guys are pretty solid as well. So, and you've been big mentors for me, getting my business started a couple of years ago, and the random tax call question or something like that I bug Julie with a lot of times. So, thank you for being so helpful for everything you've done with my business. But yeah, that was just kind of Gary's opening talk, kind of just caught me off guard. But I didn't expect him to be talking about family at this big conference, but it was pretty cool and got a lot of takeaways out of it. So next up, I guess I'll go in order of speakers that I saw on day 2. So next up is Jesse Eitzler, who's part owner of the Atlanta Hawks, and just a motivational speaker. He's a ultra marathoner or ultra athlete, whatever they are. Just very motivational. And I think I got the most out of his talk across the entire board during the conference because he was just very passionate, very inspirational, very motivational. Just everything that I can say, just positivity reflected off of him into the crowd. And one of the biggest takeaways from him is that he mentioned this can versus will mentality. And it really breaks it down to, everybody can do something, but will you do something? I can say I'm going to create a podcast and I can record a podcast episode every week, but will I record a podcast episode every week? I can start a business and do all this, but will I? Or, just these can versus will statements. And, when just the way you phrase things, the way you talk about things in terms of what you're going to do and how to do it and how to go about it, is pretty powerful when you think about it. I went home Saturday night, I believe. And, I was just sitting there. I was been meaning to get a podcast episode published for a few days, but, the conference got in the way, busy, blah, 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 made excuses, and then Jesse's talk kind of resonated. Can versus will. I mean, I can, but will you? And it's just whenever you're thinking about, oh, I could go do this or I can do that, just rephrasing it yourself, putting it into I will do something. For me, that was just extra motivation. And I've kind of stuck with that, everything that I'm doing. The decision of I can do this or I can go read, and not just saying I can, but I will do this. And it's like, once you say you will, it kind of, in my mind, just pushes the other options out of the way. There is no other option. It's just, I'm going to get this done or I'm going to go do this. I hadn't really heard of him before the conference, and it was actually pretty crazy. Hannah and I walked down, it was at Lucas Oil Stadium. So we walked down onto the floor of Lucas Oil Stadium, which is, they put plastic, whatever, on top of the field. And as we were walking in, there was a taller guy and a couple of people around them walking towards the stage. You had to walk 70 yards across the field to get to the main stage. And this other random person runs up to the guy who's walking in front of us and is asking for a picture. And Hannah looked at me and was like, "Who is that?" And it's like, "I have no idea." And then, an hour later when Jesse comes on stage, I was like, holy crap, that was this guy. And he was like 10 feet in front of us, and we just had no idea who he was. And that's, no knock on him. I just didn't know who he was at the time. And, that's kind of one of the crazy overall things about VeeCon was there's all these huge celebrities, all these big name people, influencers, celebrities, movie stars, whatever it may be. And they're just all open and so inviting, will stop and talk to you, stop and take a picture. It's just a very big, welcoming community at VeeCon. And I think that's one of Gary Vee's big things is what he's pushing for with this conference is it's all about the community and creativity and being open and all of that. So it's just like we were walking next to this guy, right behind this guy, and had no idea. And it was just funny because we were like, oh, we don't know who he is. And we stopped and thought about it for a second. But I think going back to his speech and what he was talking about, he's super motivational. The way he gave the speech, the way he presented it, he shaved his head in the middle of the talk to get his point across during the can versus will, it was just very powerful, and I think that will stick with me for a long time in everything that I'm doing for the business. So then after that, there's a bunch of breakout sessions, and you could choose between like 3 different sessions in each time slot and where you wanted to go. And one of them that we went to was with a bunch of chief marketing officers for some bigger companies like Tubi, the TV streaming, MTV, and then there's another TV market. I don't remember her specific company that she is with, but she had been with some major sports teams. I think she used to work with the Muppets. But anyways, some high-level chief marketing officers, that have been in the game for a long time and have, really, I think the one from Tubi was, she helped plan the crazy Super Bowl ads with the giant rabbits that kind of surprised people. And there's another one, I think that I think they were responsible for the one that made people think the game glitched out or the stream stopped working or whatever it was. I don't quote me on this because I just kind of remembered it and I didn't look into it before recording this episode. But so she's been behind a lot of big, marketing efforts. And so it was great hearing from them. It was really just reaffirming the fact that you have to, in all of your marketing efforts, draw to the human factor of what people, the emotions, the human factor of what people want to do and what draws them into something. And it's, every business, every market, every industry has, at the end of the day, you're trying to connect with another human. So the more that you can keep those factors in mind in all of your marketing efforts, the more successful you're going to be. So it was great hearing from them. The moderator kind of ruined that one for me. He was just a little overboard and made it all about him. And it is what it is. Sometimes those sessions are hit or miss, but I still got, it was more of a reaffirming, what I had already kind of knew and been trying to practice for a while now. So it was just nice hearing from some bigger name people in the industry there. Let me see. I posted a long thread, not a thread, because, I'm a Twitter Blue subscriber now. So it was all one tweet, a VeeCon recap, and I'll link it in the show notes, and you can go read it there if you want to. But so that was kind of the next session we went to. If you're on TikTok, you've probably came across the Dancing Weatherman. He's a meteorologist out of New York, and now he does he used to be out of North Carolina when he got started and kind of blew up on TikTok. But he's a meteorologist. He works in studio, but he dances and has millions of followers. And so he's just big on TikTok and on Instagram a little bit. But we actually met him Thursday during the field day during pickleball, and connected with him during the celebrity pickleball match, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. And it was funny because Hannah was teamed up with him, and they had no idea. The event producers had no idea that Hannah was a meteorologist. They obviously knew Nick Koser is his name, the Dancing Weatherman. Obviously knew he was a meteorologist because that's his claim to fame. And then Hannah, they didn't know she was a meteorologist, but they put them on the same team for the celebrity match. And so, they hit it off instantly and got talking. And Nick is a really great, just down-to-earth, chill guy. We got to talk to him quite a bit Thursday, and then he was actually speaking on Friday. So we made it a point to, catch up with him on Friday, hung out with him for a few minutes before and after his talk, and then also listened to his talk, obviously. And he was just talking about how how he kind of took off and became the dancing weatherman, and started from just posting. His story was that his producers or his bosses were telling him he had to put out 12 pieces of content a day on social media, which people in the social media world know, like, that's insane. That's a lot, especially just for one individual. But they were telling him to put out 12 pieces of content a day, and he needed to put out one more post. And so he just jokingly recorded him dancing and posted it, went home, took a nap, and then woke up and his phone was blowing up, and kind of the rest was history. And so just talked about how he evolved from, jokingly posting a video of him dancing to now being, having millions of followers on TikTok and Instagram, and having brand deals, and hiring a manager, a talent manager, and, lawyers, all this other stuff, that comes with becoming a quote unquote, well, it's not even a quote unquote, because he is an actual influencer. He's, somebody that has made it big. But he talked about the steps of how he got there, and kind of when he decided he needed to get representation and have that backing and that support behind him, and it wasn't just him throwing up videos anymore. So it was really, aside from meeting him personally and chatting with him the day before and before, what he actually talked about in his session was really insightful, especially, like Hannah and I, we have a bunch of pickleball content, and we're sponsored by a team. We get a bunch of gear from them, kind of in the creator influencer world there, obviously much lower scale, but, we've had a couple of our videos blow up as well across TikTok or Instagram. And so hearing how he did it and the process was pretty insightful there. So Nick, great guy, look him up, Nick Koser on Instagram and TikTok, and you'll love his videos. Now he's doing collabs with huge influencers, flying across the country just to record a 15-second video and then flying back. And he's on Times Square a lot dancing. It's just a really cool connection to meet there. And, we have a wedding out in Boston sometime either later this year or next year, and we're going to hopefully stop by and check it out at his studio and meet up with him and play some pickleball. So after that, we had lunch, whatever. Just being in Lucas Oil Stadium, being down on the field is always fun. I've done it a lot in my previous job at the state. But, being underneath, seeing everything, being down on the field, looking up in the stands and all of this, it's just a really cool experience in general. So, we got some lunch, sat in the stadium, sat in the seats, and was just looking down on Lucas Oil while we ate our pizza and everything. So really cool, just overall experience. But then after we were done, lunch, I guess we had lunch before Nick's talk, but whatever. Then kind of to wrap up the day, we had two of the bigger speakers that we were looking for. Nothing against Gary Vee or Jesse or Nick or anything, but I think the big draw was the keynotes from Drew Barrymore and Neil Patrick Harris. Obviously two huge celebrities, two huge names out there, getting to listen to them. And we purposely sat in the aisle that they walked down. So, I was literally like an inch away from getting a fist bump from Neil Patrick Harris. Is actually one of those awkward, like, he was giving other people fist bumps, but I was holding my phone recording. And then I went for a fist bump too, and then he went for one, but I had already pulled back. I captured it all on video and on took some photos as well. And it was just kind of, one of those awkward high five or fist bump moments, But it was really cool to see both of them up close, obviously walking down that aisle to the stage, and then both of them. Drew Barrymore is actually, if you don't know, obviously she's the actress, but then she's started multiple companies and has one that started more recently that's huge. So she's an entrepreneur, business owner in herself, and she brought a lot of passion and excitement to it, and not just not just about business, but just about living life in general. So it was really nice listening to her. She, she was super like she would just keep getting up and being passionate, and like they were all there was three of them sitting in a chair, but she would get up and start walking and pacing while she was talking, just because she was so excited, so pumped up to be talking about what she was talking about. And so it was just a lot of fun listening to her and her experiences, and her being a female business owner, and just their creative process and how they go about things with her business partner, who was sitting next to her, Shay, I believe. And sorry, I don't remember his last name, but I was mainly paying attention to Drew Barrymore. And I think she talked most of the time anyways, but it was really insightful listening to her. And then right after her was Neil Patrick Harris. And if you don't, I'm assuming most people know who Neil Patrick Harris is. It was more of just an entertaining conversation with him, talking about his different life adventures, what he's done. He's kind of done it all in the acting world, from movies, TV shows, not drama. Oh, geez. Plays, that's the word. He's kind of done it all. So he talked about his experiences and some of his more fun times, some of his harder lessons, all that stuff. It was just a really entertaining conversation with him. We were probably 30 yards away from him. And so, it was just a very unique opportunity to get to see and interact with all of these people on a more personal level. It's a big conference, but it didn't feel like in the sense of seeing people. Like, we saw a lot of the same people both days that we were there, interacted with a bunch of the same people, and then like just it felt more personal being able to see all these celebrities and influencers than probably you would like if you just ran into them out in LA or something like that. So it was really cool to just interact with all those people, and some of the people who have been in the game for a long time, have been doing it, have been very successful. Listening to them talk was awesome. So that was Friday at VeeCon. Unfortunately, we didn't get to go to Saturday at VeeCon. We were thinking about it because Tim Tebow was there speaking Saturday morning, but we, surprise, surprise, had a pickleball tournament on Saturday afternoon, and we had already committed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at being down in Indy for it. So just took the day off and slept a little bit, which we hadn't done a lot of before going to our pickleball tournament. So missed Tim Tebow, missed Jessica Alba, missed Gary V's closing keynote, but overall just got a lot out of the actual conference, listening to these people talk and share their stories and their experiences with us. So like I said, that Jesse Itzler conversation, I think, will stick with me for a long time, and the motivation he shared there was worth the lack of sleep, the driving to Indy 50 minutes 3 days in a row is definitely worth it, just that conversation in itself. So yeah, now I've been mentioning pickleball and what we did. This was kind of what to transition. So, if you're just here to listen about VeeCon and the speakers and the marketing and business side of things, well, if you don't like pickleball, now I'm going to talk about pickleball just because I have the platform, and this is kind of why we even got to go to VeeCon in the first place. So, like I said, I got included on an email because I'm a board member for Indy Pickleball Club. I do all of their websites stuff and some of their social media, and one of the people with V Friends, which is one of Gary V's companies, reached out to us just through a contact us form on our website. Having a website, even if you don't do a lot through it, you never know when that one big opportunity is going to come across your inbox from your contact us form. Excuse me as I got a drink there, but they reached out and said, hey, we need some pickleball pros, pickleball coaches, high-level pickleball players to help us out on Thursday, mainly we're doing a celebrity pickleball match with some big name influencers. Do you know anybody, or could you connect us? And so I was like, well, not quote unquote pro, defining what a pickleball pro is, excuse me, in the first place is, it's hit or miss, but high level player, 4 or 5 plus level player, playing tournaments, coach at Community Sports and Wellness in Pendleton. So I responded and told them all that and be like, great, let's jump on a call and kind of talk about what we're looking for. So they were setting up a pickleball court in the middle of White River State Park because Thursday, day one of the conference, was their field day. Really just a bunch of different competitions, different outdoor events. I think there's like a inflatable obstacle course. There was those big giant inflatable balls that you can run in, and they had human bowling. They had Papa Shots. They had a bunch of different. They had a human claw machine, which was pretty cool. Didn't get a chance to go on that, but they were saying Gary's just all about competition, so they wanted it to be a field day, have people just get out, interact with people, have fun, to kick off the conference. So Gary V's an owner of the Fives Pickleball for Major League Pickleball, and so obviously he wanted a pickleball court out there, and so they were putting together a celebrity match, so they needed at least 2 people to come out, and so I volunteered. It was great. Nobody else from Indy Pickleball Club really picked up on it or wasn't available, so Hannah, by default, I invited her, obviously, and she was excited to come too. So we were in for that, which was, just an hour out of time for the match. But then they were like, if you are available during the day, we're going to have the court set up. We're going to have people, we're going to be allowing people to come onto the court, hit the ball around, learn how to play pickleball. If you're available, we'd love to have you come out and teach pickleball, coach pickleball for all these conference attendees who were coming to field day. So we're like, yeah, absolutely. Especially, I knew I was getting free conference access. So I was like, yeah, definitely worth it there. So Wednesday, we did a big walkthrough with the production team. There's not really much to walk through on the pickleball side of things, but just getting the layout of White River State Park, what to do, the plan, and all that stuff. And then Thursday came around, and we were there at like 11-ish or so and hung out for a little bit. The quote-unquote field day conference, whatever you want to call it, didn't actually open until 2 p.m., so we were just hanging out, got free lunch, woo, free food. But then after that, we were literally just, once 2 o'clock hit, we were 4 people on the court, rotation every 5 minutes. So like it was, I kid you not, probably hundreds, if not 1,000 or more people throughout that 2 to 6:30 time frame. We had 4 people on the court for 5 minutes. For every 5 minutes, we were just rotating people on and off because the line was so long of people wanting to get on and play pickleball during field day. So we would, bring on 4 people, ask them if they'd played before. If they had, and all 4 of them had played before, they would just be like, all right, you guys go at it, have fun, play a few points, play as much as you can in 5 minutes. If they hadn't played, you can't teach pickleball in 5 minutes. You can barely even cover the rules in 5 minutes. But we gave them the real basic rules of serving underhand, can't go in the kitchen, serve diagonally, letting the ball bounce on the serve and the return, all, the real basics of pickleball. We'd give them that while they're hitting, warming up for a minute or so. Then they'd play for another 4 or 5 minutes. And then that was it, because we just couldn't keep them on any longer because there's so many people to get through. And I think one of the coolest things about that is, we had people from all over the world coming and playing pickleball with us and talking to them about pickleball, teaching them the sport even, Europe, Singapore, Australia, like just literally all over the world coming. That they were there for VeeCon, but they learned pickleball as well, which is really cool, just spreading the game. It's not as big other places as it is in the US, so they have other sports like paddle and things like that. But it was just a really cool experience to interact with all these people from across the world and teach them something that I love in pickleball. And, even if people didn't get all the rules down, we weren't like sticklers, calling kitchen violations or anything. We just wanted the people to have fun hitting the ball back and forth and, take that experience of, even if I wasn't good, it was fun to be out there hitting the ball. And that's how everybody starts playing pickleball, is you pick up a paddle and start hitting the ball back and forth. And then you just naturally start learning how to hit it softer, hit it harder, place it. And that's just what gets you addicted to pickleball. So just getting people on the courts for 5 minutes was awesome. There were a lot of people that came back and stood in line multiple times to get back out onto the courts. There was even a couple people that had pickleball paddles with them, which was kind of crazy because it wasn't really advertised that there was going to be a pickleball court there. But props to them for bringing their own stuff, I guess. But maybe as they wanted their paddle signed by Gary or something, because he's been all in on pickleball lately. So, yeah, it was just a really cool experience to interact with all these people and teach them the sport that I love. And then to wrap things up that night, excuse me as I get another drink. To wrap things up that night, we had the celebrity pickleball match. So there was Hannah and I, and then two other local guys came out towards the end of the day. And so there's four of us, quote unquote, pros, and then they had four influencers show up. So like I mentioned, Nick Koser, the dancing weatherman, was one. There was another person who's a parkour street runner who'd been on American Ninja Warrior, stunt actor in Hollywood. And then another guy who was on Fear Factor, I believe, and has started his own influencer agency. And then I was paired up with a famous TikToker who has like 8 million followers, Kaz Sawyer on TikTok. Does a bunch of pranks and just cool, fun ideas on TikTok. And so we just played, two teams played against each other. The other two teams played against each other. And then the winner of those two games played for the championship. So Hannah unfortunately lost her first game. I won my first game, so then I moved on to the championship, and then I ended up winning the championship with Kaz, which was awesome. We got these super cool paddles. They're on a gold chain. It says VeeCon 2023 Pickleball Champion. Is super cool, decked out. It'll be on the YouTube thumbnail if you're watching on YouTube, or even if you're not watching, just go check out the YouTube thumbnail. It's also on my Twitter at Riley Harden. So yeah, it was just a really cool time playing and meeting these huge celebrities. All of them had millions and millions of followers on social media. So not the Drew Barrymores or the Neil Patrick Harris or Jessica Alba, but to some people, like I knew of Nick, but I didn't know of the others before this event. But some people were there and they knew who these people were. They are big name influencers, big name celebrities to a lot of people. So just really cool getting to interact with them on a personal level, all of them. The games were semi-competitive. All of the influencers, it was their first time ever playing pickleball, so the stage was pretty level on that front. And then the other players, the pros, there was one guy in particular who was taking it pretty serious and just hitting it directly to Kaz every time. So I jumped in and Kaz was like, let's be aggressive, and if you can step over and take it, take it. So then I started playing really serious, and Kaz and I ended up winning the championship pretty easily. So it was a lot of fun. I think the highlight there too was Gary Vee came on during my first match. So he came onto the court, and so his whole entourage was there. If you don't know, Gary Vee is like followed constantly by an entourage of people recording content, editing, taking notes of what he's saying, what he's doing. So they were all there. He came on, talked to the entire crowd. There was bleachers and everything. There was everybody. It was like the focal point of the event at that time. So when he came on, it obviously attracted even more people. But yeah, he came on. He was 5 feet away from me, talking to everybody. He talked directly at me once or twice when he was saying about signing the pickleball paddles, which I did get mine signed. Didn't get to talk to him personally, but I got it signed, so that's good enough for now. Gary V, if you're listening, still waiting to meet you. He had a big selfie station line that was you had to sign up Wednesday night or Thursday morning, and if you weren't signed up or didn't have tickets to it, you couldn't get in. But anyways, he was there, came out on stage, talked to everybody. So it was just really cool to be, 5 feet away from Gary V for a few minutes while he was talking to everybody and talking about pickleball and VeeCon in general. So pickleball was a blast. Got absolutely fried. If you're looking, you can't really tell anymore, but my forehead got absolutely fried, starting to peel. But it was just so much fun being outdoors, teaching pickleball to people that had never played it before. So that was Thursday, and then obviously Friday, already talked about. But I think overall, just a quick recap, VeeCon was awesome. It was something that I've heard about. Obviously, this is only year 2 of it, so I heard about it last year, and I've followed Gary V for a while now. And knew it was coming to Indy, but never expected to go. One, I don't have any Ethereum or haven't bought any NFTs or anything like that, and that's the only way you can get a ticket. And 2, just I wasn't really planning on spending a couple $100s to go, but this opportunity presented itself. So I was like, awesome for pickleball, awesome for business and marketing. I'm absolutely all on board. And it was just a great experience. The positivity surrounding the entire event was awesome. It was just everybody was so happy, positive, welcoming. The entire community, from the people that on the production staff on Thursday that we interacted with and worked with all day and who organized it all, to the different celebrities and influencers that we ran into, to just everybody who attended. People walking by saying hey, asking questions, just saying what's up. Like, everybody was just so positive and uplifting during the entire conference. It was a lot of fun to be there. It was very inspiring and motivating as well. So if you ever have the chance to go to VeeCon, it's once a year. They haven't announced where it's going to be next year yet, but if it comes to anywhere close that you are and you're financially able to go, I 100% recommend going, because you'll get a lot out of it, even if it's just a break from the day-to-day life and something that's positive and uplifting, and you'll have some fun doing it. So VeeCon 2023, it was a blast. So happy I was able to attend and take advantage of the opportunity. And Gary, if you come back to Indy next year, I will be happy to go and play some pickleball and learn from some of the best again. So that'll do it for this week's episode of Digital Wrap Up. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you got something out of it. No real tips or tricks, but just wanted to get on and share about this cool experience that I had. So again, you can check out Twitter and my Instagram at Riley Harden to see some more highlights from VeeCon if you're interested. And until next time, I hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.